Zimbabwe's drug regulator has issued a recall notice on 2 batches of Benylin pediatric 100mm cough syrup. This follows detection of high levels of diethylene glycol, a toxic substance which can be fatal to humans when consumed. The affected batches numbered 329303 and 329304, manufactured by Johnson & Johnson. In a statement earlier today, the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe said healthcare providers should not administer the affected product to children. The drug regulator said while their database does not show importation of the affected batches, there are concerns that the affected batches may have found their way into Zimbabwe illegally. We're now joined by Geoffrey Guakua, a pharmaceutical expert, to help us understand the latest development. So very good evening to you, Geoffrey. Now, to start with, how widely available is this cough syrup in Zimbabwe?
Benylin pediatric syrup was registered last year by the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe. We do not have it on our shelves. However, some people could have imported it illegally.
Our stakeholders in the health sector have called for increased domestic resource mobilization and healthcare funding. Speaking to ZTN in an interview on the sidelines of a Stop TB Partnership Zimbabwe program, the Parliamentary Portfolio Chairperson for Health and Childcare, Daniel Molokele, said over-reliance on development partners will have detrimental effects if the funding partners pulled out.
So we need to sit down as a country. We need a national conference to discuss innovative ways to fund health. You know, we used to have the AIDS levy, which was held by many countries as an innovative way of funding health. And we are also having a bill that is coming through on national health insurance that is also going to help to finance healthcare in Zimbabwe. So we also need to see how we can work closely with other stakeholders, especially the private sector, to see how they can also get involved in public-private partnership setups. We also know that we have got a huge dependence on international development partners, especially the Global Fund. And so as Zimbabwe, we need to find ways to reduce that dependence, because once the donors pull out, then the consequences will be dire for our patients, especially those on ART. So it's important that Zimbabwe reduces that dependence on international funds and increases more funding for health, local, domestic.
The European Union, EU, says its new deforestation regulations can be an opportunity for Zimbabwe as the market is prepared to pay more for sustainably sourced goods with no link to forest degradation. The new regulations ensure that 7 commodity products, soy, beef, palm oil, wood, cocoa, coffee and rubber, all of which are major drivers of deforestation, will no longer be sold in the EU if sourced from areas that are affected by deforestation or forest degrading practices. EU Ambassador to Zimbabwe Jobst von Kirkman appeared on ZTN Prime's The Mint, where he spoke on the rules which will come into effect from December 2024 for large businesses and December 2025 for SMEs.
I believe what people sometimes say, oh, this is a catastrophe for us. I'm actually not so sure, because as I said, the consumers in the EU are ready to pay a higher price. Now, if you're ready to pay a higher price, it means at the beginning of the value chain, you can pay more for labor. And if you look at it in that way, there could be an extremely positive impact. A positive impact for those who produce. And instead of having an absolute minimum wage, they get more money, they live better, there is a minimum of education and other things which are requirements, there is no child labor, and so on. So if that is properly applied, it should actually lead to a reduction of poverty at the beginning of the value chain.
Zimbabwe senior women's national cricket team arrived in the United Arab Emirates on Monday ahead of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup qualifiers, which start next week. Chipo Mugedi Tripano, Ashley Ndirai and Sharon Myers are among the big-name players who have been added to the African Games gold-winning squad, a major boost for the Lady Chevrons. The global qualifier starts on the 25th of April, with Zimbabwe in Group B along with Ireland, Netherlands, UAE and Vanuatu. Group A has Scotland, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Uganda and the USA. The top 2 teams from each group progress to the semi-finals, and the 2 finalists will qualify for the ICC Women's T20 World Cup 2024.
Konapo, Ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.